let's stay with that story. The Judicial Service Commission has recommended Justice Mandisa Maya as the next Chief Justice. This is a historic move for South Africa's judiciary, but there are those who believe that her recommendation is not a complete victory. Nicole Fritz from Freedom Under Law says Justice Maya's recommendations is a result of a tainted and degraded process. To share more of her thoughts on this, she joins me now. Thank you so much for your time, Nicole. We do appreciate it. I just want to first speak about the Judicial Service Commission process, the interviews that happened last week. Many would say that there were attacks on specific candidates, such as Dunstan Mlambo, as well as Acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. What is your view on the process? Do you think it was fair? Do you think the commissioners asked questions with an open mind, they weren't biased, and they actually asked the right questions to understand who is best fit to be our next Chief Justice?
Heidi, I should just say I'm no longer with Freedom Under Law. I'm in fact now the director of the Helen Suzman Foundation.
So sorry about that. We'll correct that.
Our view is that but our view is actually, as you say, it is historic that we have this recommendation of Justice Maya to be the Chief Justice. That's the JSC's recommendation. It is unfortunate, though, that the interview process, which we saw play itself out last week, was such a degraded, corrupted process of what it should be to search for the leader of our judiciary. And it is unfortunate that a jurist who may indeed be the most exceptional and distinguished jurist who would do incredible service for our country as Chief Justice should have her candidacy sort of besmirched by being recommended as a result of a process that has been so degraded. I think the questions that we saw put, the way in which the process played out, was so far removed from the powers and role that the Judicial Service Commission is intended to play.
I do understand that the Helen Suzman Foundation could be threatening to head to court, and this is not something new that we've seen. Yes, not from the Helen Suzman Foundation, but we've seen CASAC go to court last year to have the Judicial Service Commission redo these interviews. Where are you in that process and thinking? Will you be heading to court for these interviews to be redone?
Heidi, that's too soon to say. And, you know, to the extent that it's been said that we're threatening legal action, that we've certainly reached such a decision. We are considering our legal options at the moment. I think, as other legal experts have said, this is an unprecedented process. We never before, as a country, had such a process in order to select our Chief Justice. In terms of the Constitution, the President is the power. The discretion to appoint the Chief Justice is the President's, after having consulted with the Judicial Service Commission and the leaders of the political parties in the National Assembly. The President presumably put in place this particular process.
Yes, you can continue. Sorry, I think there's some kind of delay, but you can definitely continue, Nicole.
Sorry about that, Heidi. But the President presumably put this process in play in order to enhance the exercise of his powers. But far from enhancing the exercise of his powers, the interview process was such a desecration of what the role of the JSC should be that it detracts from that process. And I think the President would be well advised, in fact, to give no regard to these processes and to go ahead and to nominate his candidate, and as has been customary, simply to consult the JSC as to whether his nominee is a fit and proper person to be appointed to the role of Chief Justice.
Nicole, I want us to quickly speak about the calls for the Judicial Service Commission to be re-looked at and the representation on this commission, because many are saying that it becomes very complex when politicians are on this commission, and even though there should be a fair representation of our society, many are saying that perhaps it should rather be judges and those in the legal fraternity to be asking these questions and to be on this commission, because they are best fit to understand what's actually going on in the legal space and to ask the kind of right questions.
I think that's right, Heidi. I think there has to be a far... I think that's right. I think that there has to be a far heavier weighting within the JSC of those who are experts within the legal profession who understand the role. What we saw on Friday night, where the interview processes descended into a shouting match between Commissioner Malema and Minister of Justice Ronald Lamola, shows the dangers of there being the political representatives that we've had, and that in fact these interviews then are used as a pretext to pursue political fights and agendas, and not for their true purpose, which is to engage in a searching interrogation of who would be the best candidate to take the helm of our judiciary.
Nicole, I quickly want to speak about Acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo's interview process. I think many were taken aback at the revelation, or I don't want to call it a confession, but he basically explained to South Africa and to Commissioner Julius Malema why he visited then President Jacob Zuma back in 2008, and many are saying this was unethical. What is your view on that interaction between Acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and then President Jacob Zuma?
Heidi, I'm sorry that the sound quality is so bad, but I think you're referring to the interaction between Acting Chief Justice Zondo and Commissioner Malema. Commissioner Malema suggesting that it was inappropriate that Acting Chief Justice Zondo had paid a visit to then President Zuma. The irony, of course, the revelation was that Acting Chief Justice Zondo had in fact paid a visit to then President Zuma because he was alarmed at the utterances that had been made. Julius Malema, who was then head of the ANC's Youth League, Julius Malema having said that he would kill for Zuma. Judge Zondo, as he then was, obviously very concerned about that type of discourse within a constitutional democracy, and it seemed appealed to the president to try and ensure that that type of discourse was not part of our constitutional democracy. But the irony, of course, Commissioner Malema suggesting that it was inappropriate for the Acting Chief Justice Zondo to have engaged with a political actor in that manner, and yet does not see it at all problematic that he, as the author of that utterance, as having in the past threatened and sworn to kill for Zuma, would now be on a body that is empowered and required to engage in the searching process to select those persons who are fit and proper to serve on our judiciary. And I think that irony, hypocrisy, in fact, has largely gone remarked upon.
Certainly. Nicole, I wish that your line was good because I have so much to ask you. But hopefully we'll reestablish your line and maybe we can chat to you in the week when the Helen Suzman Foundation actually decides on whether or not it will go to court. But thank you so much for your insights. We do appreciate it. That was Helen Suzman. That was Nicole Fritz from the Helen Suzman Foundation.